Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Unfuck Yourself podcast. Right now, we are reporting live from Cabo. We're here for my birthday, and I forgot my podcast mic. So if the sound is not as good quality as the usual podcast sounds, that's why. We're going to do our best. I have it recording on Zoom here for the Unfuck Yourself membership queens. I have it also recording on like a camera up here, so whichever audio sounds better, whether it's from the camera, whether it's from the Zoom, we will pull that one and we will use it for the podcast. My apologies. It's not that I even forgot the podcast mic. I thought about it, but my podcast mic is fucking massive. I was like, there's no way we're getting this in my bag. I packed a carry-on. It was already packed to the brim. It just wasn't happening. So the audio might not be as good as the usual audio today, but that is why. So if you're like, Allie, your audio sucks, I know, I don't have the podcast mic, but we'll be back with that next week. Okay, and as you know, per usual, we are here doing this live in front of the Unfuck Yourself membership podcast queens. So if you don't know, basically it's $50 a month. You get to come listen to the podcast live. You get to hear the parts that I start to like go rogue with that get cut out from the public hearing. You get like the deeper tea. And then we have 45 minutes at the end where all your questions, not all, but where we get through as many questions as possible. And we get some questions answered, some mini reads done. And that's what's inside the membership. So we will link that in the show notes for you too. If you ever feel FOMO about that and want to get in, you can cancel anytime. Today, we are going in on all things trauma. So it was funny because I just put on my Instagram story like an hour ago, which out of these 3 topics do you want to dive into today? And none of them had to do with trauma. Like one was like the source formula to career. One was the emotional root cause of extra fat in the body. And the other one was like a deep Q&A where like we answer questions in here, but they go on the podcast and we dive deep into things. We will do all of those things, but then after I posted that, I tapped in intuitively to the collective of everyone in here in the membership and everyone who listens to the podcast and what they needed most, like what people really needed to focus on most right now. And trauma came up in explaining it and explaining actually what it does to the brain on a neuroscience level and to the energetic body and why you still can't heal certain things no matter how much you have done, like why things are still lingering and some tools to kind of get that going. So today is a day on what the trauma you've been through is doing to the brain, to the energy, to the creator field, why you can't seem to ever move past it, and why you have reactions that you would have had when you were like a 7-year-old child to certain things. Like why even it's like who has you know us so well. You know what? I like to try. Who has had reactions, and especially this probably comes up with your partner or just with family who you're most comfortable with, where you're literally reacting like you're 12 years old, but you're noticing that you're reacting like you're 12 years old. It's like, I know I'm reacting like this, but I can't help it. Like you're like painfully self-aware that you're reacting a certain way, but you still can't help that you're reacting a certain way. That's why self-awareness doesn't really get you far. Like you can be as self-aware as you fucking want till the cows come home, but self-awareness is only one part of it, okay? There's a big energetic and physical part of healing the trauma that is not really talked about. And what I've never heard talked about is pieces of our light body that go missing. And the piece of our light body that go missing is exactly why, and I'll explain what that is in a second, but it is exactly why you have those reactions of when you were 12. So whatever age it is that the trauma happened, and it could be with anything. When I say trauma, it could be someone said something mean to you on a playground, or as far as like sexual abuse. I mean, and anything in between, right? It can be a little tiny thing, or it can be a really, really big thing. And fun fact, so you don't gaslight yourself, right? Out of your trauma, everyone, what they've experienced is their soul's level 10 trauma, okay? So anything anyone has been through, that is their level 10 trauma. If you have the most loving parents and you feel like this insane guilt about it and like you have to like do the best to like just give them back the love that they've given you, that's your level 10 trauma. If someone said you're ugly to you on the playground when you were 5, that's your level 10 trauma, right? So every soul that is here and it's chosen its own level 10 trauma. Now, my level 10 trauma might be your level 5, and your level 5 trauma might be my level 10, right? So before you gaslight yourself out of like, oh, other people have had it worse, or before you make yourself too much of a victim where you're like, oh, you don't understand what I've been through, before you do either one of those things, every soul has came back and chosen its own level 10 trauma. What might not seem like a level 10 trauma to me, right, might be your level 10 trauma, vice versa. So I had this happen a lot. I have a friend whose parents were like so loving, always so supportive, all of these things. Well, now this friend in life kind of doesn't have work ethic, right? And kind of wants things to happen without work ethic. And that's now they're experiencing trauma at 29 years old. And that's the trauma is they are in this place where they feel like they've been, quote, air quotes, trying for a long time. But the work ethic, if you look at it intuitively, has been at like 29% of their capability, 100% being the highest. So everyone's thing that they've been through is their own version of their own level 10 trauma and experience, okay? So when I'm saying trauma, I could literally mean someone laughed at you when you were 5, you know what I mean? And that's like stuck with you, and ever since you can't speak on stage or whatever it is, right? Or it could be some really big drastic thing like you had an alcoholic father who beat you up. It could be anything in between, okay? So anytime I say trauma today, know that, and there's not just one, there could be multiple, and one could then have like domino effect and multiple to come from that. We'll explain that and how it all works today. But really, really important, because with whatever you're trying to create in life, whether it's the money, the career, the health, the good relationships, the success, the whatever it is, if you're having a hard time creating new beliefs around it, thoughts around it, actions around it, there's probably 99.99% missing parts of your light body in where it keeps pulling you back to these traumas it's not allowing you to then fully immerse yourself in this new belief system, in this new thought, in these new physical actions, right? It's kind of like someone who knows they need to eat healthier, but they're not, right? But they're like, I know I need to eat healthier. Like, why am I not eating healthier? I know I need to eat healthier. Why am I not doing that? Like, it's so weird. I just keep eating the unhealthy things. It's because there's missing parts of your light body that it's bringing your energy back to those things, even if you're self-aware, okay? The self-awareness and the just like pounding your brain with information will not heal you and will not shift you. Being self-aware, of course, is the first step. You can't heal anything if you're not self-aware about it, but that's as far as it's gonna get you. The radical self-awareness, it's almost brutal. It's almost worse, like to have insane self-awareness, but then like literally not know what to do better, why it keeps happening. Like at that point, you'd just rather be ignorant about it and rather just not even notice. So we're going to start to explain on a source level, a scientific level, a creator field level, a light body level, what happens today, what happens, and start to get you understanding of why you keep resorting to the thing. So let's say your parents got divorced when you were 12, and it caused this like distrust of men because of something that happened with your dad and your parents got divorced. Well, now anytime you distrust men, you're going to resort back to your 12-year-old self and what they would say and do and feel, until we understand what's going on, how to recover the missing parts of the light body, how to rewire the brain actually for real, and how to reprogram the creator field. So anytime you get your feelings hurt, you will resort back to the first time you ever got your feelings hurt and how you would react then. You will literally make yourself think it's that same situation over and over and over again. And it will literally make you feel like you're 5. Like, who here, maybe out yourself or don't if you don't want to, but I find this comes up in relationship when you, you know how in relationship people will like talk in baby voices and stuff, but like when you get your feelings hurt and you start to talk in a baby voice, that's literally you resorting back to your like 5-year-old self. Literally, I used to do it all the time. Whoops. I do that sometimes. Yeah, like I don't even want to like reenact myself. It's like so cringy, but it's like It's like, I can't even think of like an example. Hold on, let me think of one. It's like the baby, like, that hurt my feelings. Like, I don't want you to do that anymore. And like getting really like baby voice. I can't even reenact it because I'm not in the space of it, but it's just really cringy. So, but that's why you do that. And it's why you resort back to that. It's because there's a missing piece of your life body from that age that's still there. That's literally, even though you're self-aware of like, why the fuck am I doing this? It doesn't matter. Like, your fight or flight system has already taken control. You're already too far gone. Catch this in yourself or anyone else. The second somebody says you or they're too far gone. Okay. The second you go to blame someone, you're like, you're this, you that, or they're this, they're that, you're too far gone. You're already out of your emotionally neutral state. There's no rationing with you at that point. You're convinced that it's the other person's fault, vice versa, right? So the second someone is accusing you of something or saying you're this, you're that, whatever, they're too far gone. There's no like proving yourself to them in that moment, in that time. Like the best you can do is literally just let them fucking, whatever, say what they need to say. And there are some emotional mastery tools to go along with that. I feel like we're getting into emotional mastery season. Like, I don't know. It just feels like it's pouring out of me because it's something that I've been really diving into the past 2 years. So this is kind of step one of that, is understanding what the fuck's going on with your responses or other people's responses. Okay. So people are often under the assumption that they have healed their past and it doesn't bother them. But then they're wondering why like relationships keep not working, their health is unwell, their career still isn't working, their finances still aren't working. Like, they wonder why there's something's always off. But if you ask them if they're angry, they'd be like, no, I'm not. Most people are, they just wake up in the morning 59% or more emotional without even realizing. And unless you're 17% or lower emotional wise, you're going to have a really hard time like reprogramming new things, creating new things, having a hard conversation, that kind of thing. So the truth is that truly healing from the past is something that most people don't get to do. And they may address a certain component or two of that, right? But they're missing a lot of pieces. When we have a pattern in our lives, it's like throwing a stone in a lake, okay? Who here has ever like thrown a stone in a lake? You initially throw it, okay? And then there's tiny little short ripples, right? Little ripples that come and get further and further out. And the more distant they get, the bigger they get, okay? So, you throw the stone in the lake and there's little ripples. There's one ripple, there's another ripple, there's another, then they get bigger and bigger and bigger. Think of this as the stone throw is the first time the trauma happens. It's like the initial trauma, okay? And then the initial trauma, it creates an emotion in us. And then that emotion then continues to create that same emotion over and over and over again. So the ripples are now what we call the reflections, right? The stone throw is the first initial trauma, right? It could have been a soul choice, could have been a reflection. Then the ripples are like, you feel now a certain way, and now the ripples are now another scenario that then makes you feel like that again. Because you feel like that, you're now creating scenarios that make you feel like that. It's like you're between a rock and the hard place, right? You're waiting for outside scenario to make you stop feeling like that. But because you now feel like that from the initial trauma, you're now creating more and more scenarios. And what happens with the stone throw in a lake? They start out small, the ripples, but they get bigger and wider after the stone throw. So time does not heal wounds, right? The saying like time heals all wounds. It's the biggest piece of dark force bullshit information I've ever heard in my life. Like, it's not true. It's not helpful. Actually, it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and more, right? And what's even more wild is that even the more, let's say your soul plans to get certain successes, but it's a soul plan and it's not like a creation that you got the successes, that soul plan will make them even fucking bigger, I had a client that back in 2020 when everyone was getting fucking canceled, she got canceled. She's like in the entertainment reality TV space. And she came to me, she was like, Allie, I don't know why I'm getting fucking canceled. This is like false news, first of all. Second of all, like I'm a nice person, I'm always nice to people. Like what kind of karma is this? And I'm like, well, karma doesn't exist in this realm, in this frequency. It's however we're being to ourselves, other people will be to us. And she got canceled on this massive level. So she has this from an outside perspective success, but got canceled massively on that level from a thing that happened when she was 5, where she was accusing herself of something she wasn't. And then she was being accused of something she wasn't when she was 5. So then she started accusing herself of things she's not. And then over and over again, the ripples got bigger and bigger and bigger till they're now fucking massive on like a global level of now everyone accusing her of something that she's not, right? So the success does not make them go away. It only makes them bigger. It only amplifies the ripples. Time, I mean, she was 30 something when this happened and 5 when it initially happened. Time does not heal the wounds. We do by understanding how it works, okay? So when we have a pattern in our lives, it's like throwing a stone in a lake. You throw it initially, and then there's a tiny short burst, and the ripples get bigger and bigger and bigger. So, for example, there could be, cough, cough, it's me. Happened to me. There could be somebody, aka me, who, when they were 5, they stood up in front of a class to make some presentation on whatever I was making a presentation on at 5 years old. And I heard people laughing. Were they laughing at me? Who the fuck actually knows? They could have been laughing at something totally different, but I decided they were laughing at me. So I immediately decided that I was dumb. I can't speak up in front of people. Like I'm embarrassed. People are going to think I'm stupid and laugh at me. Okay. So this like public speaking fear, right? And memories can even be inaccurate, okay? And we can change memories, right? Just like how I might have, like that memory of them laughing. Were they laughing at me? They could have been laughing at something totally different, but I decided to change the memory and think they were laughing at me. Therefore, I gave myself a trauma, right? So love is the center emotion, okay? It's the emotion of seeing all positives and negatives at the same time. Okay, love is seeing all positives and all negatives of any situation at the same time. Our soul self in that moment, in the moment of the thing happening, has fallen out of the emotion of love. Okay, we've felt limited. Okay, then this moment fired up our fight or flight system. Then this moment had so much emotion attached to it that it starts to store the memory, okay? It starts to become part of a neural network, and it becomes a significant event, and it becomes easy for the brain to find. This out of balance emotion is hijacking then our creator field, and it's causing people and situations to start to act out this belief now, this thing, right? So if I think I'm dumb because I decided 2 people were laughing at me, well, now that was so emotional for me. It changed my neural network. It hijacked my creator field. And now I have a script in my creator field saying, I'm dumb. Whatever I say, don't take it seriously. And so that's what would happen. Like nobody fucking thought I was smart literally ever until I shifted this. And I mean, all through high school, all through even certain times in adulthood, like no one ever saw my genius because I didn't see it because I had this script writing of I'm dumb, literally don't listen to anything that I'm saying. And so because then that was so prominent for me, that's then what was causing people to act out that script of my creator field. And I created more at the ripples, more and more and more situations of I'm dumb, don't listen to what I'm saying. And that would create people, places, circumstance, situation, reenacting that and creating that back. So those are the ripples from the stone throw, is the cycles that we then create because of that initial stone throw. Because we do not overcome it in our because we don't overcome it, our creator field continues to create more events that have to do with that same feeling. And every time it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. For example, the initial thing could be, I couldn't think of the right words to say, and it becomes a thyroid problem later. For every single time we experience one of these ripples, what tends to happen is it reaffirms the memories from our past and it amplifies the problem even more, okay? The true story, if I feel like I'm not heard and can't express my authentic self, I will develop lung issues. I got asthma at a really young age. It was so bad. I was like in the hospital for it all the time, like literally full-blown situation. I couldn't like fucking, every time I get sick, asthma, like, and it was asthma that like, you had to be on the thing, like the breathing treatment thing and the steroids and the fucking this, that, and it like wouldn't get better for weeks at a time. I mean, it was like, couldn't even like walk from the living room to the kitchen. At a young age, this started happening. So what happened was I felt like I'm not heard or seen for my authentic self, and I'm stupid. And that then attacks your lungs, because the lungs are feeling like you have the ability to fully take up space and be your authentic self and be like totally in love with it, right? Totally neutral about it. So if we feel like we don't have the right to be heard, it's now popped up in every area and we ignore it. Most people ignore it. If it comes up in relationships, instead of learning the lesson, we break up with them and on to the next, right? And on to the next. Oh, they don't like me for my authentic self. Break up, on to the next. Oh, they don't like me for my authentic self. Break up, on to the next. Instead of going, oh wait, they're just reenacting my creator field. I feel like they're not hearing me and allowing me to be my authentic self. Where am I not hearing myself and allowing myself to be my authentic self? Let me shift that. They're probably going to shift. So, but instead what we do is we ignore it and we just keep break up, next person, break up, next person, leave the job, next job, leave the job, next job, fuck this client, on to the next client, right? Like that's a very natural thing that people do. And then they're like, why do I keep recreating the same situation over and over and over again? Well, that's why, because we're trying to outrun the lesson, but we can't outrun the lesson. We've created the neural memory, the emotional imbalance, and the soul imbalance. And because of all of that, the time it happened, we stored it as significant because we got emotional. The first time it happened, we stored it as significant because we got emotional. How memories work is memories are connected to certain parts of the body. Each type of memory is connected to a certain part of the body, okay? So pain in the body will fire up parts of the brain too. So if you have felt ever unsupported, that gets stored in the brain. And let's say that time and situation or event would have never happened if you had the support of a parent or somebody. So now that is being connected to the body. The body and the mind connect here, okay? And now those emotions are being stored in the body. The body and the mind connect. And so what's happening is that these emotions are getting triggered. And that emotion specifically is stored in the upper back, in the shoulders, which is the emotional support area of the body. If you don't feel supported, you're going to have shoulder pain. Like you're going to feel, even when they massage, you go get a massage and they start massaging your shoulders, you're going to start to ignite that pain, that emotional pain. You're going to start to have thoughts or memories come up of not feeling supported. You're going to start to get maybe anxious. Whenever I get a massage, I'm just outing myself all day here, but this is how I feel. They'll get in here in my shoulders that are so fucking tense, and I start to get literally anxious. And I'm like, why am I anxious? I'm getting a fucking massage. It's because the feeling of not feeling supported makes me anxious. And so the second they start to like massage here, it ignites that emotion, because emotions are stored in the body. Just like how I was able to heal my asthma, the asthma that I was experiencing, by healing the emotional root cause. So anytime there's tension in that part of the body, it is connected to a memory and it will start to fire up that memory, okay? So daily, what may be happening is you might go to the gym and a part of the body has tension. Then this memory is popping up all of a sudden out of the blue. And as soon as the memory comes up, it amplifies the initial situation that happened. That time and place that the event occurs, a piece of our spirit self breaks off and is left there, okay? And this has a lot, this is the energetic part, but it has a lot to do with the physical part because we're both. So hear me out. The place and time that the initial trauma occurs, but then all the traumas that then come from that initial trauma, a piece of your spirit self breaks off and is left there. This is why people cannot fully heal. Maybe they did a lot of the physical work to heal, but the memory keeps popping up still, or the feeling keeps popping up still. Almost every time there's a stone throw into the pond, there's a trauma that happens, and it's like that's the piece of our soul self breaking off. But then what happens is the trauma we create after that, and after that, and after that, and the ripples that keep getting created, another piece of our soul self breaks off, another piece, another piece, another piece. So at one point, by the time I was 19 years old, I only had 19% of my light body lungs. Wild. Then I started to heal once I was like 22, 23. I've been free and I hate saying never. I've been free and clear of experiencing asthma ever since, okay? You know that term, never say never? It's a universal thing. If you say never, you're basically like law of opposing forces yourself, and then you'll somehow create the opposite of that later. So I don't like saying never, but I've been free and clear of asthma ever since. I gathered back the missing pieces of my light body by healing the emotional root cause. So the moment that happens and a piece of our spirit self, our light body splits off, it prevents us from moving forward, from moving on. Why it's so important to have our 100% spirit self? Great question. I'm glad you asked. It's because we need to be 100% to access 100% of our abilities and of our power. Part of healing this serves a massive purpose, okay? And they bring us to a place in time where we left a piece of our energy, and it allows us to retrieve it in order to access our fullest potential. So everything in this universe is meant to be an equal amount of energetic work and an equal amount of physical work. We need 100% both. The second we fall out of love, our spirit body splits off and it stays there. And if we aren't doing this by 40 years old, most people who aren't doing this are missing about, and this is like a very generous number, about 38% of their light bodies, which is massively, massively affecting their ability to manifest. You can take all the courses you want, you can listen to all the books you want, read all the things you want. But if you're missing these pieces, it will either temporarily work or not work at all. Nothing is pointless, and everything in our body is important, and it was chosen by our higher self and source for a reason. Everything has a purpose. So for example, our tonsils, right? And so with our tonsils, people so easily remove them, but they're a big part of keeping bacteria out of our brain and that kind of thing. So even those are important to have. Same thing with our light body. If we are missing a part of our light body, the light body provides the blueprint and the order for the protons and the neutrons and the electrons at a subatomic particle level. And our light body is controlling that, okay? So the protons and the neutrons and electrons, those are responsible for creating the physical matter that is our physical body. So if we're missing parts of the light body, we're gonna start to then have physical body problems in the same locations that you're missing parts of your light body in. if we give a piece of our light body heart, for example, we don't even think twice about giving our energetic selves away, right? So for example, if someone you greatly love is having a rough time, you don't think twice about like giving them a piece of your light body heart, about like just really deeply like emotionally feeling for them and empathizing with them, but like to the point where it's like hurting you emotionally. And if we are missing enough of that light body blueprint and pieces of our heart, we can end up with heart issues and physical heart issues down the road. Same thing with lung issues, right? Each time I was worried about if someone thought I was dumb or expressing my authentic self, I was giving away a piece of my light body lung that then caused lung problems and asthma. So what happens is that this amplifies the build our creator field is creating and constructing. Our past is creating a future that's getting even more severe than the first initial thing that happened in the past. Sometimes it can take up to like 10 lifetimes to resolve something like this because people aren't taught how to heal from the past properly. But what's great is knowing this can prevent that from happening, and you can solve something really fucking quick. So knowing this, we can prevent any of it. We can easily shift and heal something very, very quickly with the right tools, right? So the desire of the soul self, the spirit self, is to be whole. And this, what we're talking about here is just like scratching the surface of like what it means to be whole and the whole depth of that. But this is just some of like the highlights of why healing from the past is so important. So because its desire is to be whole, when it's not whole, we will continue to get reflections showing us where we are not whole. So what we do is we'll amplify memories. So even if two people laughed when you were making a presentation when you were 5, every time we remember the memory, we build on it and make it way more dramatic than it was. So our brains like to really dramatize memories. And let's say then 4 years later, you build up this memory that like 100 people were laughing at you and the whole room was laughing at you. The teacher thought you were dumb. And and they thought about it for weeks after, and you were like the joke of the whole town and the school, right? We will dramatize these things. But if you look and intuitively and actually ask source or ask your higher self what happened, you'll see, oh, only 2 people were laughing and they weren't actually even fucking laughing at you. We will dramatize these things and make them very, very much more dramatic than they were most of the time. So if we correct the brain and memories, we can remove that first initial stone throw, and we can make it so that stone was never fucking thrown, which is really cool. So no matter how much it's manifested into your life at this point, it can be healed by pulling out the initial stone throw, by pulling out the initial root cause of what you've been creating. So trauma in the past from sexual abuse, for example, truly healing from the past removes that stone, and you can remove things like this from people, and people then literally have the pattern being stopped. I've done it many times with myself. I've done it many times with clients, with students, and it's because of the scientific and energetic spiritual laws. So the components of healing from the past is we have to, number one, is we have to undo the neuropathways. Okay, the neuropathways are directly connected to our fight or flight responses. And so if you have a neural network that was built from you don't feel understood, and now you're, 27 and your partner says something and you don't feel understood, you're going to resort back to how you felt as that 5-year-old and all the times in between. And so we have to, because your neural pathway has been built around that. And so the second you get into a fight or flight response, it's going directly to how your neural pathway has been built. So step one is we have to undo those old neural pathways, suffocate them, and start to build and create new neural pathways that are a neural pathway that your higher self would probably have and build. Number two is all a belief is it really just comes from repetition. Okay. It's around like if you have a thought and that thought is going on like about 7,000 times, you now have a belief. We can shift a belief in a matter of like 5 minutes with the right tools. And we have to reprogram the fight or flight response system. That's the physical part. I'll give you some tools for this today. The energetic part is the energetic component is recovering pieces of our light body. Okay. Pieces of our light body are literally broken off and still living in that time. Time and space does not exist. So if something happened when you were 5 and it hasn't been healed, it's still happening now in your subconscious, in your creator field, and your light body is still over there from when you were 5. If you've ever been in any course with me, you hear me talk about the energy recovery that we do. That's me leading you through getting back missing pieces of your light body, right? If you ever hear me talk about an energy recovery of any time from conception in this life until today, where you have doubted yourself, I'm getting everyone else's energy and beliefs out of you, and I'm getting all your missing pieces of the light body back and giving it to you. That's why we're always doing an energy recovery in every single course that I do. It's getting back your missing pieces of your light body. Because even if you do the brain reprogramming, if you're not getting the missing pieces of your light body back, you're still living in that and your energy is still going. It's going to be harder for you to reprogram the brain because you're going to be pulled back there. If the frequency of light gets low enough in the body, we consider then that area being a match to disease. It's like when you get a scan, like an MRI scan, and the part that's diseased or hurt is darker, right? That's literally like what's going on. Like there's missing parts of your light body there. You can see it in an MRI. It shows where the injury or disease is. It's because there are missing parts of the light body, okay? So our soul chooses the initial trauma in childhood to teach us, right? Our soul chooses it. But then we amplify it, and then we are the ones that keep creating more of it if we don't pull the initial stone out. So our whole life and our obstacles are being created from something that happened probably between the ages of like 5 and 8. And or even before that, conception till 4 years old, right? Now, conception till 4 years old, we're taking things on from our parents. And then around 5, what happens is we choose to make them our own, right? And you're like, Allie, I'm 5. I don't know what I'm choosing. We subconsciously do. So we choose to then take on that emotion, right? Like my mom never felt pretty enough, even though she's stunning. So I took that on from a young age. Like I remember being like 4 years old, this tiny little nugget thing, thinking I was fat, right? How would I think that other than taking on my mom's stuff? But then once you hit 5, it then becomes your own thing. We're a reflection of our parents until we are 5. Once we're 5, we're now creating our own reflections and our own belief systems and our own things. So our soul will choose the first initial kind of thing to happen, the first initial stone throw, but then it's our thing that we then get emotional about them and amplify them. So I want a tool for you to take home today that I'll give you on the podcast is start to think about the reoccurring pattern in your life. What is this reoccurring pattern? Like, I just keep feeling like I do. It doesn't have to be so drastic. Like people keep, burning my house down, right? It could be, I feel like nothing I ever do is enough. It could be, I never feel good enough. It could be, I always compare myself in this certain way. What is the reoccurring thing in your life, right? That just keeps popping up no matter where you go, no matter who you're with. It's always just creeping up and finding you. Maybe you used to date someone who made you feel like that. Maybe your soul gave you a break and had a soul choice to now date someone or be with someone who isn't reflecting that. But now it's popping up in work, or it's popping up in finances, or it's popping up in your health. What is being created? What's a part? Another thing to ask yourself is, what's a part of my body that's giving me a hard time right now? Maybe it's you have an armpit rash. I did the other week. Maybe it's your ear keeps itching. Maybe it's your ankle's broken. Maybe it's a disease, right? It could be anything from small to big, right? What's a part of your body? Your nails keep breaking off. Every time you get your nails in, they just break off. That's something, right? There's a light body in your nails. Or it could be a disease. It could be a thing you've had for a long time. Whatever it is, what's a part of the body that's saying something to you, right? Now, if you're not in like a course like my Body Talks course where it breaks down the emotional root cause of body parts, all you have to do is ask yourself, or literally Google, what's the function of this body part, right? So what's the function of eyes? Well, the eyes are here to help you see. Okay, if you have a problem with your eyes, there's something you're not seeing, right? And it gets more and more specific with things, but you can start there, right? And just start to ask yourself, what am I not seeing? Is it my right eye, which is the masculine side? Is it the left eye, which is the feminine side? Masculine would be like doing. Feminine side would be like being done to. So if you have a problem with your right eye, it could be something like, I don't like what I'm seeing after I do something in career, I put it out there, I put a project out there, and I don't like what I'm seeing after I do it. That could be something. Or being done to, the left, the feminine side, could be, I don't like what I'm seeing of how these people are treating me with this certain thing. Like, I feel like they're being this way to me. Like, I feel like I'm getting this done to me. I don't like what I'm seeing here, what I'm getting done to me here. Make sense? So that's just eyes. In Body Talks or something like that, we dive through and go through anything that we could think of to get the emotional root cause of. But if you're not in there, you can literally just be like, Google, what's the function of this? And then be like, okay, where am I doing this, right? So another thing I want you to start to look at is when this thing gets triggered, this not feeling enough wound, or this I'm not seen for who I am wound, or this getting accused of things I'm not, or whatever it is that you've found, how do you respond? Another tool for you to look in. What is your initial response? What gets ignited in your body? What form does your body take? What gets ignited in your thoughts? How do you verbally respond? Like, start to get very, very clear on that. I'm like, that's great. Me too. Good. So again, we are just scratching the fucking surface. This is 0.0000001% of the information of this stuff. But I just want you to start to get an idea of what is actually going on a light body level, on a creator field level, on a neuropathway level when these traumas happen. And it's why that no matter how self-aware you are, no matter how many books you read, no matter how many things you take, that something just keeps pulling you back, right? There are neural pathways that are still being run. There are missing pieces of the light body that are still not back to you. So if you're just listening to the podcast, start with those questions. If you're in the membership, stay tuned. After we end the podcast, I'm going to give you a few other tools for this to dive into this even more, some tools to start to heal this for yourself. And if you're listening to this on the podcast and you're like, wait, I have FOMO, you can join anytime. You can listen to this recording and you can get the tools as well. Before we do that though, just to bring the podcast episode to a close, Doing this is the first step to anything, emotional mastery, the career you want, the finances you want, the health you want, the relationships you want. If we're not understanding this and what's running our lives and what is creating all these obstacles for us, we're never going to be able to get over the obstacle and create what we truly want. Even if your soul has a plan to give you success without you creating it necessarily, right? The success will only amplify these wounds, just like that example of my client that I talked about in the beginning. Another example of that for me is my first initial emotion is overwhelm. You would think that having a team of 8 and not worrying about money anymore, that I wouldn't have overwhelm anymore. All that's done is heighten my overwhelm, and it has nothing to do with my team or anything like that. My team is the best. They're like, I couldn't build a better fucking team. It's not the outside things that heal the inside, right? The overwhelm is coming from a deeper thing. The overwhelm I felt when I was just building my business alone, the overwhelm I have now, or I've experienced now, I won't say now, I would say up until like 2 months ago, I've really like shifted and healed that. But up until like 2 months ago, you would think I was fucking like literally being chased by a lion dying, right? And again, nothing to do with anything other than me never really healing the actual stone throw of the overwhelm, and the outside things were only amplifying it, right? So this will continue and continue and continue on until we recover the piece of our light body, until we start to reprogram the brain. Now, before we end the podcast, one of my favorite ways to reprogram the brain is just flip it to the opposite. So if you feel like nothing I ever do is enough, flip it to the opposite. How is everything I do more than enough? Micro moment, prove to yourself how that's true every single day. You're going to start to rebuild the neuro pathway. I have some more tools for membership queens too, but just one last one to throw on the podcast. Again, this is just scratching the surface of what we will do with this at some point, somewhere in some course, maybe an emotional mastery course. I don't know. It seems to be like what I'm thriving talking about lately. We'll see. But start here, and this is going to already make so many clicks and shifts for you. Definitely one to re-listen to multiple times. Our brain literally only hears and picks up on and remembers 20% of the information we hear in an hour time frame. So there's stuff in here that you didn't hear today because you were too busy hearing another part of it. Whichever part we get the most emotional about when we listen to something is the part we're going to remember the most. So once that clicks, come back, listen again, and more will start to click. And as you listen, just start to think of all of these times. And now, even knowing this and starting to work on this, even just with the tools that you have in here today, you're going to be able to catch yourself in your spirals a little bit quicker. We will go down spirals and not even fucking realize we are going down spirals. And we will deny that we're going down spirals, right? Someone would be like, oh, you're going, an intuitive could pick up on it. And you're like, I don't do that. And then intuitive's like, yeah, you do. And they give you specific examples of how you're doing it. And you're like, oh shit, I am doing that. We don't even realize the spirals we go on. Even things like somebody saying the price of something, and you automatically go, that's too expensive. Who does that, right? Or I don't know how they afford that. Like, how do people afford these things, right? And so even that, I would go and I would trace back to where that missing piece of your light body is. But we don't even notice that we're having these thoughts, right? Any thought that is limiting, it is not true. It is not the truth of your higher self. Any thought that you have that is limiting in any way, it is not the source truth. Source truth is literally limitless, and it's love. It's feeling whole. It's love. It's seeing the full positive and the full negative in everything, and seeing the neutrality in it and how it is perfect. Seeing the neutrality is seeing how it's perfect. So any thought outside of this is perfect is a soul imbalance somewhere that happened along the way. So just start to watch yourself. We don't even realize how much we are having these thoughts, right? So just start to watch them as they happen and come up. And even like, things about money, they can probably come up a lot. Things about relationships, they can probably come up a lot. What's the biggest recurring pattern in your relationship right now? How do you feel like they're being? Where are you being that way toward yourself? Can you remember the first time that happened, you started being that way towards yourself? And just start to trace back and start to find these missing parts of your light bodies and start to reprogram the brain differently. Okay, I'm about to end the episode here. Give the membership queens a few more tools for this and then get into a Q&A with them about this whole topic. If you feel FOMO about the rest of the tools in the Q&A, you can jump in and access them at any time. Really great episode today, you guys. Reach out, DM us, let me know what you thought about it. And we would love more than anything that if this podcast resonates with you, to go ahead and give it a 5-star review. That just helps it get out to more people, and it would mean the world to us, and my team really appreciates that as well too. So great episode. I will see you guys in the next episode, and we are about to get into it with the membership queens. Okay, bye.